Hey everyone, welcome to my next card video using the October 2017 Paper Pumpkin Kit, and this is alternate project number 2. And I'm going to be sharing with you 2 new cards using the kit. Alright, we're going to get started. Here's a look of the first card, and I really like how it turned out, and it's super easy to make. We're going to begin with garden green, but I did bring in 2 other colors. We're going to use this sunburst stamp from the kit. And the plaid piece here, I cut it down to 1.5 inches by 4 1/4. And then I have an extra piece of white cardstock. And then the next panel is another piece of white cardstock that I pre-stamped the sentiment on using Night of Navy. All right, we're going to make the holly leaves first, and we're going to use that sunburst stamp. So we'll just stamp out 2 of those. And then when you stamp the other side of the leaves, just ink up before the line. Then we'll just line it up to the first image. And then the second one, I wasn't being too careful, so I did hit that line, as you can see. But that's okay, we're going to be covering it up anyway. Using the garden green marker, we're just going to darken up the centers of those leaves first. And then we're going to hit it with lemon line twist using a small dauber. And that's going to be our highlighting color for these leaves. All right, and then I did bring in the next color, which is Pear Pizzazz for the darker shadows. But I decided I'm going to skip the Pear Pizzazz and just go with lemon line twist and garden green. And then before we do the connect the dots part, I just snipped that off of the panel there. And then using the garden green marker, we're just going to connect the dots. Super easy to make these little holly leaves. And I did come down a little bit longer on the one end for the stem. Okay, and then I'm just shading a little bit more. And then I'm just going to darken up that center with the marker. And then we'll just cut it out. We're going to be shading them in again once they're all cut out. So just cover up the white spots on the stem there. And then we'll just shade some more using the garden green. And that looks so much better. Okay, now we're going to put together the card. We're going to glue down the plaid panel. And it did need an extra pop of color, so I added a little strip of real red along the edge of that plaid panel there. And then we'll just snip off the excess. And I did mount that onto a side folding card base. Okay, and then we needed some berries, and I used my 1/4 inch hole punch and punched out 3 in real red. And then I created a little bow using some gold twine. I doubled up on the twine there and then tied the bow. Okay, now we're ready to glue everything down. We're going to glue down the holly leaves on the top left corner there. And I decided not to use any dimensionals this time. And then we'll glue down our berries. And I also decided to glue down my bow, which I knew full well wasn't going to stick, but I did it anyway. It did end up popping off, so I did throw a glue dot, which works the best. Okay, and then with a white pigment marker, I'm just going to dot each one of those berries for some detail. And I did hit the holly leaves with my clear Winkostella, but you can't really tell in the photo there. So here's a shot of the finished card. I really like how it turned out. I hope you do too. All right, we're moving on to the second one. Pretty well the same colors. We're going to use the garden green along with lemon line twist. the star or sunburst stamp, and then we're going to use the smaller circle die cut piece as a template. And here's the finished card and what it looks like. So I really like how that turned out. All right, we're going to trace along that circle die cut piece as our guide. Okay, and we're going to be using garden green along with lemon lime twist. So the lemon lime twist we're going to start with using a small dauber. We're just going to sponge all the way around that circle that we drew, and that is going to be our little like a halo glow around the wreath. So just come out a little bit, and then with the garden green just shade along that circle outline just to darken that up. Okay, and then once you're finished that, we're going to stamp the sunburst image. All right, so stamp along the circle line, and you're going to slightly overlap when you do this. Okay, and then we're going to stamp the inside part. Just make sure you ink up just before the line, and then just go all the way around. And you'll end up with this really interesting look. And just for fun, I added some berries and a bow that I punched out, just in case you want to stop here. All right, moving on, we're going to connect the dots now using the garden green marker. And I did start off with the fine tip, but it was not working, so I did flip over the marker and continued on connecting the dots. And then you have this really interesting look. And I decided to add the berries and the bow again, just in case you want to stop here. Okay, moving on. This is where I decided that I needed a little bit more glow in the center part of that wreath. And then I also brought in the garden green along the edge there. Okay, now the next part. With the garden green marker, I'm going to color in each section of each leaf, like every other section on the leaf. And then we're going to get this kind of geometric look. It looks kind of funky. It might even look awesome if you use different colors. And then I decided to throw those berries in and the bow, just in case you want to stop here for fun. Okay, moving on, we're going to create the holly leaves now. And I did stamp out about 7. But I ended up with 8 leaves. So basically the same action, and then I colored it in with the lemon lime twist and highlighted it with garden green, and then we just hand cut them all out. All right, and then once we're done that, I decided to do the sentiment on the card, and I was being super duper careful here. It had to be centered and right the first time because I was not going to redo that panel. All right. I cut down the panel at 4 inches by 5.5, and then I mounted it on a real red panel, which measures 4.25 by 5.5. And then here are all the leaves. And instead of sticking them down flat onto the image there, I did use some kind of foam tape that's not very thick, just to add a little bit of dimension. And somehow, I don't know, but I did end up sticking down 8 leaves. And my intentions here was I wanted the background to show up a lot. But still, I think it turned out really nice as is. So just place your leaves around this wreath and just make sure that it's nice and circular looking. And then once you're happy with that, you'll just stick it down. And now I'm ready for the little berries. And I put one on top of the leaf and one below the leaf all the way around. Okay, and then I used the bow from the Shaker Shapes Framelits, which is retired. but you can use any bow you have. And I did stick it down on a top folding card base. And I did the bow last because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, but at the end I went with this bow. So I did remove one of those berries, and I decided I wanted it on the bottom left of the wreath instead of the usual top center. And then I dotted each one of those berries with the white pigment marker. And then also I hit it with my clear Wink of Stella. Alright, so that's the card. I really, really like how it turned out. Super pretty. But it does have a lot of steps though. Here's a quick look of the finished card. And here's a quick summary of the 2 cards that were created. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.